In this lesson, we're going to talk about the relationships between keys. There are certain keys that work well with one another, and so we're going to discuss why that is and how that kind of happens in music. Okay. What you see in front of you is called the circle of fifths, and this is just a graphical representation of how the keys are laid out, the progression of sharps on the right, the progression of flats on the left, and what key signature that corresponds to. You also have this handy guide in the middle here in this gray section that tells you how many sharps or flats are in each key signature. And in the very center here, in the green, you have the relative minor keys, and we'll talk about what that means in just a minute. So we're going to start with the tonic key, okay? So when you are in a key signature, the tonic is the scale degree number 1. And so the tonic key or the tonic chord is built on scale degree number 1, okay? There are closely related keys to the tonic key, and by closely related, we mean that they share a lot of common tones, okay? So the first closely related key is the next key in the circle of fifths, G major. This is called the dominant key. The dominant key is built on the 5th scale degree of our tonic, so C, D, E, F, G, okay? It's called dominant because it is second in importance only to the tonic within kind of this key relationship business. It's also called dominant because it has what's called a dominant function, which means when you play a dominant chord or you have a melody that's primarily in the dominant key, it creates kind of an instability that requires resolution. Let me show you what I mean here, okay? So here's our C major scale, okay? And I'm going to play a C major chord. Now I'm going to play a G major chord and resolve it back to C major, and hopefully you'll hear that pull. Now that pull back to the tonic is accomplished in one way through leading tones. A leading tone, it simply means that a note or pitch resolves or leads one step higher or lower, okay? So if we're in C major and I was playing the resolution of the dominant to the tonic, in the dominant chord we have G, B, and D. The B is a leading tone right back up to C. Singers, you would sing it as T-do, okay? That's a really, really, really strong pull in our Western system of music. And so you hear that often. If I were to make a dominant 7th chord, which simply means that I add the flat 7, or F in this case, sounds kind of jazzy. That F wants to resolve down to E, which is the 3rd note of our C major scale. So you have 2 notes that want to resolve. That's that dominant function, accomplished with leading tones. The next closest related key is called the subdominant key, or the key that is built on the 4th scale degree of our tonic. In that case, it's F. And so as you can see, the closest related keys occur right next to each other in the circle of fifths. Now, F, or the subdominant, is called subdominant because it is an equal distance below the tonic as the dominant is above the tonic. So if you're counting up from C to F, C, D, E, F, that's an interval of a 4th. However, if you place that F below the C, C, B, A, G, F, you'll notice that's a 5th below the tonic. So again, they're equidistant. The subdominant also doesn't have as many leading tones that resolve to the tonic, which is also why it's considered subdominant. Now we're going to talk about the relative minor, okay? It's also called the submediant. However, for us, we'll continue to label it as the relative minor. And that is the minor scale that shares the same key signature as the major scale equivalent. So if we're in C major again, which is no sharps or flats, the relative minor is A minor, which also has no sharps or flats. If we were to go to A major, which has 3 sharps, the relative minor would be F sharp minor, which also has 3 sharps. Singers, you may know from class that we call this La-based minor because you simply take our major scale, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Instead of starting on Do, you start on La, okay? In the key of C major, C is Do, A is La, and that way you sing a minor scale with unaltered syllables. So again, to review, we're talking about key relationships and closely related keys that share as many common tones as possible with the tonic key. The tonic is built on the 1st scale degree. The dominant is built on the 5th scale degree. If we were in C, it would be G. The subdominant is built on the 4th scale degree, in this case F. And the submediant or relative minor shares the same key signature, or again, if you are a singer, you could think of it as starting on La. So in this case, it would be A minor. We'll explore some more of these relationships and how they work to resolve musical phrases in the next video regarding cadences.